Nature documentaries usually show us beauty, grace, and survival. But underneath all that beauty, the animal world can be unbelievably filthy. In this countdown, we're diving into 10 disgusting animal facts that are all real, all strange, and all hard to forget. From insects turning your kitchen into a mating arena, to birds, reptiles, and scorpions with defense strategies that sound like body horror. This is the side of nature most films leave out. By the end of this video, you may still love animals, but you definitely won't look at them the same way again. At number 10, let's start with the tiny pests buzzing over your fruit bowl. If you've ever swatted your hand through a cloud of fruit flies, you probably thought you were just clearing out a nuisance. But according to the article, those chaotic swarms are really mating gatherings. The flies pair off, engage in courtship behavior, and because females may mate with multiple males, the final partner can end up fathering the offspring. So what looks like random insect chaos is actually a frantic reproductive strategy packed into a life that lasts only about 40 days. In other words, that gross little swarm in your kitchen may be far more intimate than you ever wanted to imagine. At number 9, that sweet little pet bird on your shoulder may be sending a message you completely misunderstood. Many birds interpret being stroked from the head down the back as a mating cue, not harmless affection. The article explains that this kind of petting can sexually arouse the bird, causing heavy panting and even regurgitation as an offering of food. And when the bird realizes you are not responding the way it expects, things can turn ugly. What seemed like bonding can quickly become frustration, aggression, and pecking. So yes, one gentle stroke can turn an innocent cuddle into an accidentally romantic misunderstanding from the bird's point of view. At number 8, we get one of the most stomach-turning facts on the list, castoreum. The article says this substance comes from a beaver's castor sac, and historically it has been used in products like vanilla flavoring, perfume, and even cigarettes. It is a yellowish secretion mixed with urine and other fluids, and while it is not as commonly used today as it once was, that is mostly because it is expensive, not because manufacturers decided it was too gross. That means some of the most luxurious scents and flavors humans enjoy have, at times, come from a source that sounds more like a dare than an ingredient. Nature, apparently, has no respect for our appetite. At number 7, we head into Southeast Asia, where one tiny frog has found a home most of us would never go near. The ornate narrow-mouthed frog, only about 1 inch long, may live under leaves if it can find them, but when it can't, it will happily move into a fresh pile of elephant dung. And from the frog's perspective, that disgusting mound is actually prime real estate. It provides shelter from the sun, a steady supply of insects, and even leftover bits of food the elephant did not fully digest. The article quotes biologist Ahimsa Camposarceis, who notes that a dung pile can become a small ecosystem on its own. So while we see waste, this frog sees food, protection, and a perfectly livable address. At number 6, things get aggressively weird. Male proboscis monkeys, according to the article, respond to threats with branch shaking, tooth baring, and what researchers describe as erect penis displays. The article goes even further, claiming these monkeys are permanently erect and use that anatomy as part of their intimidation ritual. When tension rises, they spread their legs and deliberately make sure rivals see the display. It is not occasional, and it is not subtle. It is a regular part of their threat behavior. In a world full of chest beating and roaring, proboscis monkeys somehow found a way to make dominance displays even stranger. At number 5, captive falcon breeding turns into something that sounds almost too bizarre to be real. The article says breeders first have to sexually imprint male falcons by performing calls and motions that put the bird in the mood. If the process works, the male flies onto a special hat worn by the breeder and copulates there, allowing semen to be collected. Then things get even stranger, because the breeder must also stimulate the female enough for her to cooperate with insemination. It is clinical, technical, and undeniably effective, but it is also one of the most surreal examples of human involvement in animal reproduction you are ever likely to hear. Falconry is majestic from a distance. Up close, it gets weird fast. At number 4, we meet a reptile with a defense mechanism straight out of horror fiction. The greater shorthorn lizard can shoot blood from its eye sockets when threatened, and the article says it can send that blood as far as 4 feet. This happens because muscles around the eyes redirect pressure until the blood bursts outward like a biological water gun. Even stranger, this is not always a last resort. According to the article, the lizard may use the same response for something as minor as getting dust in its eye. So when danger appears, this little reptile does not run, roar, or bite first. It quite literally weaponizes its own face. At number 3, several bird species have found a revolting way to survive the heat. The process is called eurohydrosis, and the article says birds such as storks, condors, flamingos, and vultures cool themselves by defecating on their own legs. The mixture of feces and urine evaporates, helping lower body temperature in a way that functions almost like sweating. Later, a white powdery residue remains, which can also help protect their legs from the sun. But there is a downside. If too much waste stays there too long, the birds can actually bruise their own legs. So the next time summer feels unbearable, remember, somewhere out there, a bird is handling the heat in a much more disgusting way than you are.
As sunlight provides energy, water evaporates from
At number 2, captivity can push ducks into shockingly violent behavior. The article says bored ducks, especially in confined environments, may entertain themselves by attacking other ducks, destroying eggs, and even eating ducklings. One first-hand account describes a male Muscovy duck cracking open a nearly hatched egg, biting the chicken side, and swallowing it whole while the parents watched. The article adds that the problem can become serious enough that owners use beak trimming machines to stop cannibalistic attacks. So while ducks may seem calm and harmless when they drift across a pond, under the wrong conditions they can become brutal, restless, and horrifyingly opportunistic. And at number 1, we reach the most grotesque fact of all. When some scorpions are grabbed by the tail, they can escape by shedding it. At first, that sounds like an incredible survival trick. The detached tail keeps moving, distracting the attacker, while the scorpion flees. But the article reveals the nightmare hidden inside that defense. The tail also contains the anus, and it does not grow back. The scorpion survives, but from that moment on, it can no longer defecate. Waste builds up inside its body for months, pressure increases, and eventually parts of the remaining tail area rupture until the animal finally dies after prolonged suffering. It is one of the cruelest trade-offs in nature. Escape now, and slowly become too full of your own waste to live. So after all that, here is the question: which fact was the hardest to hear? If this video made you laugh, cringe, or completely rethink the animal kingdom, hit like so YouTube knows to show it to more people. Subscribe for more dark, cinematic deep dives into the strangest truths nature hides in plain sight. And share this with one friend who loves animals enough to survive the gross side of them too. Because in the wild, beauty and disgust are never far apart. And the more you learn, the stranger the world becomes.